Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski, and recently in a stream recap, I mentioned that I thought that fossils were one of the most interesting markets within PokeMMO, and I thought that they had changed aggressively over the past 2 years. You see, I had price memory, and I talked about how I remembered buying skull fossils for like 6,000, 8,000 Pokeyen, and how most fossils in PokeMMO have almost doubled in price or like gone up like 4K a piece or severely increased in price due to a multitude of factors. One of those factors being official shiny wars becoming a thing in PokeMMO and introducing a massive like surge of demand in PokeMMO for actually getting fossils, because fossils are really good for scoring points in official shiny wars. Also team shiny wars, more teams in PokeMMO are hosting shiny wars, driving up the demand as well. And then on top of that, there's one more factor being the buff to popping fossils, which made it so you could pop fossils way faster because you don't have to go back to your PC anymore to deposit your fossil Pokemon in the PC. They just go straight to the PC when you pop fossils. So I always thought that fossils had gone up a ton in Pokeyen. However, recently someone commented on a video of mine saying, hey, I just went and I checked the market history on PokeMMO Hub, which is the website I'm using today. And you're actually incorrect, Patrouski. I went back and I checked the graph, I checked the market, and fossils really haven't changed at all. And whoever said that was egregiously wrong. So I wanted to go ahead and and teach you guys, for those who don't know how to use PokeMMO, number one, how to use PokeMMO Hub, and then number two, just go over the fossil market, because I think it is interesting, and I do want people to fact check me when I'm correct, but don't fact check me when I'm wrong. Nothing is more obnoxious, but that's okay. You know what? Mistakes happen. So I think what happened is this person went over, looked at PokeMMO Hub, just took a glance at the graph and went, huh, this graph looks pretty straight line. This is pretty similar. I bet nothing happened. Well, if you actually hover over the data and hover over the numbers, back in 2022, which is exactly when I was hunting my Cranidos specifically, you could see most skull fossils, you can see the price on the top part, the yellow line. You can see most skull fossils cost around 6,000 to 7,000 Pokeyen. You see a lot of 5,000, 700. Occasionally they get up to like 8K a piece. You can see here, they slowly start to rise. And this is when the market really makes a big turn, is over in March of 2023. We see a big spike here where fossils kind of spike, at least skull fossils spike from 6K Pokeyen for the last time, which they were around 6,000 Pokeyen from September 2022 all the way until March 2023. So for what is that, 7 months or so, until eventually a price change or something changed in the market, and now they kind of go for 7 to 9K, and they went up over time. And nowadays, I mean, you see skull fossils at 10 to 12K, I think, is like the average price, 10 to 14K. Right now, they're about 14, 15K. Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs between any market, but it's a pretty massive difference from 5 to 6K a piece on average back in 2023. We slowly saw the market go up to 7 to 9K a piece. We then see it go up from 10 to 20. We see a spike over here in April of 2024 for some reason, pretty large spike. I don't know if someone was just aggressively buying in or what exactly was happening, but we see it stay above that 10K point, like 8K at the cheapest down here, 8 to 9K, really 8,800-ish. Never went back to 6K ever again. Always stayed above 8K, really pushing that 10 to 12K, I'd say, on average over a period of time. I think another really interesting number here is the number of items in the market. Fossil shiny hunting has just gotten way more popular. You can see there that bottom blue number, that represents how many items are in the market, right? So you might think, oh, well, maybe the number of fossils, or the price of fossils, is going up because there's way more demand and not enough supply. That's not even necessarily true. Obviously, everything is supply and demand. But as you can see back here, look at this spike. There was 889, 973 skull fossils on the market back in October 29th, 2022. That's the highest spike we see here, right? On average, there's 200 skull fossils in the market. That's it. I would say about 200 on average, all the way until March, when we actually see an increase, 600, 400. When the prices went up, we actually saw a few more skull fossils come on the market. Over here, we see a huge increase, 1,300 skull fossils now in the market, 1,100. To nowadays, we're seeing over 1,000, 2,000. Sometimes a small amount, but like generally there's a slow day there at 476. But on average, if we scroll across here, what is this? Probably a 1K average, right? It bounces a lot. It seems like between like 2K and 1K. So realistically, the average is probably closer to 1,500, but let's lowball and say the average fossils on the market back in 2022 was 200. Nowadays, it's like 1,500, 1,000 to 1,500 or so, 1,000 to 2,000, as well as, once again, the price doubled from around 6K to 12K on average, just for skull fossils. And then the quantity, the supply, right, went from around 200 on average all the way to, let's say, 1K on average. So that 5 times. The supply 5 times and the price 2 times. That's a pretty severe difference, increase, and interesting journey the skull fossil market has taken. But you know what? Maybe it's just the skull fossil. Maybe the skull fossil is special because I hunted it. People like Cranidos. It's a cool Pokemon. What else? What about dome fossil? Well, looks like dome fossil, similar thing. Also one of the cheaper fossils back in the day. You could get them for like 4,500 Pokeyen back then, 5K a piece, 6K, pretty consistently on the market. You could see items in market around 100, around 150 or so, maybe 150 or so average. Big dump here. You can see a lot of people, somebody dumped a bunch here, but back to normal, back to around 100. Okay, get a little bit higher, 150, 200 or so. Okay, now the average is increasing. So we go from, let's say back in 2022, similar time period of skull fossils, 6,000 average price. Let's say items in market average is like 150, let's say 200, right? So pretty much exact same numbers. Nowadays, average dome fossil price, right? You're looking at 10 to 4, and right now, today, they're very high at 17K, which is crazy. But let's say 12K on average. I think it's fair to say 10 to 12K, 13, 14K or so on average. Here, they were a bit cheaper, right? You could often get them for a bit cheaper. Items in market, we're looking at 1,000. The low points here, we have some low points, honestly, recently, around 200, 100. But on average, if we go over to here, 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, 2K there, 4,000 dome fossils dumped into the market. So on average, most fossils have covered a pretty similar trend. They have 5 times the amount in the market, so the 5 times their supply, as well as doubled their prices. Look at claw fossil, right? Similar. We could do 1 year, you could do 6 months or whatever. Looking at the all we can see from the creation of PokeMMO Hub, August 29th, 2022, up until now, April 24th, as I'm recording this video. This video might release a bit later in the future, but I'm sure the market trends are all the same. Unless a major update has happened in game, this should all be the same, even if you're watching this in May or even June at the crazy latest. We have a lot of content to talk about, it might get delayed, but we'll see. If you're watching this video, comment what month you're watching it, if it's still relevant, and if you still enjoy the content, So we can see back here, claw fossils, right? Claw fossils were always one of the more expensive fossils. They were about 10K or so, even back in 2022, right? 2022, we still see 10,000 Pokeyen, right? 9,000. You see some highs of 14, even 18K. That's kind of crazy for a fossil back then, right? But we see probably average price of like 10 to, even a little bit higher here. We can see a spike there, I guess. But I would say 10 to 14K. If we ignore this spike and we go here, let's say average price is 14K. I think there's a lot of spikes honestly happening there. So let's say average, yeah, we can see over here. I think average cost for a claw fossil, I think around 14K back in 2022 or early 2023, honestly, as well. Items in market, you can see on average, let's do this is a big slump, I guess, 50 to 100, pretty minimal amounts. Maybe 150 average if you include the heights, like the peak claw fossils, 229 in the market versus like 4K or whatever for domes. So let's say 100 claw fossils on the market per average in early 2023, and let's say a 14K average price. What are they today, right? Today, they are about 20K a piece, pretty on it. Like you see 18K at the lowest, and then like 28K up here at a peak of value, maybe like 15, 16K at the super lowest, but like on average, I'd say in modern day, I'd say around 20K. So it went from 14K to 20K, not a 2 times increase, but a pretty big increase. And supply, you can just look at the blue graph is the crazy one to look at visually, like this being so low, and then all the hills and valleys that come over here, right? The supply going from 50 to 150 on average, now to 300, 600, 700, 70. There, a slow day, 27, 400. This one's a harder one to average out because these are clearly being bought. Like, this is clearly someone buying them to shiny hunt, and they restock, he buys, they restock, he buys, they restock, he buys, etc., etc. But if the peaks are around 600 and the bottom outs are like 30/50, I think it's safe to say it's around 300. I think the average supply in the market is like 300-ish versus 150. So the supply doubled. So even for things like claw fossil and other fossils, for pretty much every fossil in PokeMMO, I think that the price has often doubled or gone up a fair bit, and the supply is going up a fair bit, and the supply still cannot meet the demand. I think it's pretty interesting, a cool market, interesting to talk about. Hopefully this taught you a little bit about the fossil market in PokeMMO, the history of it, how much it's changed over the years, and just it's important to read graphs. Take your time. Unironically, graphs are really difficult to read and really complicated. They say a lot of things, and I think sometimes we as humans can interpret them a little shallowly. So make sure to take your time, read your data. I'll try to do the same as well. I'll make mistakes along the way, I'm sure. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Dislike if not. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see daily PokeMMO videos every single day. Follow me on YouTube for daily videos. I just already said that. Follow me on Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. Discord's down below if you're interested in that. If you want to go above and beyond and support the channel, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, PayPal donations, all that stuff is super helpful. Have a great day. Use PokeMMO Hub. It's a really, really powerful resource. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace, Reno.